Hey everybody, Ryan with My Kid Cures Cancer, and we have with us Emily Fletcher of Ziva Meditation for a special midday live pop-in. Emily, how
And
you
also
doing?
a Valentine's Day pop-in.
Yeah, a Valentine's Day pop-in with the just I was commenting on the awesome tapestry you have behind you, and if there was ever going to be something behind you for Valentine's Day, that seems like an appropriate thing to have. So
Yeah, I'm staying at a friend's house and this is in her office. And normally I'm not, I sort of shy away from the hippy dippy, as I was saying, but I just thought this was too beautiful not to use. So here we are.
that's good. So I just wanted to talk about your upcoming event, which I'll let you fill folks in on, but it's centered around, Ziva Meditation. You are a meditation expert, if you want to call yourself that. And hold on. So I just wanted to, like I was just telling you, we have a mix of people going through cancer that follow what we're doing, and we also have quite a few people that just want to live healthier lives, and especially they want their children to live healthier lives. So that's kind of the framework that I always view everything in. Is one, how can this help people going through cancer, and two, how can this how can either this directly benefit my child, or how would it benefit me and then indirectly benefit my child through a greater sense of performance, or a better performance on my end, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And that's why I personally have been into meditation for quite a while now, because everyone says it's good for your performance and your overall mental well-being, and so on and so forth. And so that's what I do. That being said, I have the app, and I'm fairly inconsistent with actually sitting down and using it. And I know your program, your style, I guess, is a little different than other approaches that have been put out there in the past. So I'm really interested to hear about it. Ryan has been talking too long now. let's- Emily, I guess just to start off, I'd just be curious to hear what got you into, wanting to focus on meditation as what you do.
Yeah, so I'm happy to share that, and I will. And I just want to address that you're not alone. I hear from people every single day that, like, I downloaded this meditation app and I keep hearing that meditation is good for you, but like I do it like twice, but like I'm busy and I don't have time and it's not really moving the needle for me. And people feel frustrated because people who do meditate and that actually have training in it to treat it like it is the second coming and it is just this like revelatory, life-changing thing. It's like, okay, yeah, I'll meditate. And you listen to like 10 minutes of a guided app or something and you're like, okay, that was fine. But it doesn't really change your life. And then you're like, and then it seems like the emperor's new clothes, right? It's like everyone's just talking about this thing, meditation, and I don't get it. And so I just want to offer that what most people's experience is, until you have some training, until you have a technique that's actually designed for you, and until you actually have some training in the tool, meditation can be really frustrating. And because you're just sitting there judging yourself based on misinformation, because most people think that the point of meditation is to clear the mind. But the reality is that the mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. So trying to give your brain a command to shut up is as impactful as trying to give your heart a command to stop beating. It does not work, and yet this is what most people are doing when they meditate. And then they leave feeling not only more stressed, but also like a failure. And then on top of it, feel guilty for not making time for doing the thing that made them feel like a failure. And that's just like a stress shame spiral that like we don't need to go down.
That about sums it up. And then for me as well, like the only time that I can find to do it, I get up super early to work on just everything we do with the website. And it's kind of my one health vice is not getting nearly enough sleep.
Mhm.
but then I'm getting up early and trying to fit the meditation in, but then I'm like, falling back asleep. I don't know if you have a solution for that too, but
Yeah, I do. So actually, so the first solution is get some training, right? And I'm happy to gift you Ziva Online. That's our new training that I'm going to be talking about today. Because I'd love for you to experience and be able to share it with your tribe. But the thing is, because meditation is simple, we assume that we should already know how to do it. But we don't want to confuse simplicity for weakness, right? The power and the practice actually comes from the simplicity, but it really is like any other skill. And until you have some training on how to do it, how to know if you're falling asleep, how to know what's happening to your sleep, the depth of your sleep, how to understand what's happening with neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, and actually a technique itself versus just like trying to let your thoughts go or clear your mind, then it just becomes infinitely more enjoyable. And more importantly, your return on investment becomes exponential, right? Because to just sit there and listen to a guided visualization, like it's nice, like it will make you feel better in the right now, but that is what I would call mindfulness, right? Mindfulness is very good at dealing with your stress in the now, versus meditation is actually getting rid of your stress from the past. All of that stress that we hold in our cellular memory, that's actually the thing that slows us down. That's the thing that robs us of our full computing power mentally. And so what we do at Ziva is that we give people tools to induce very deep healing rest in the body. And then when you give your body the rest that it needs, it knows how to heal itself. And one of the things that it heals itself from is stress, right? Then less stress we have in our body, better able we are to perform at the top of our game. And I feel like that's relevant to your audience in two ways. One, if you're a parent and a caregiver, you're in an incredibly high demand situation. You're probably not sleeping. You might be dealing with hospitals. You're dealing with the speculation and fear of what is happening to your child. I mean, that is an extraordinarily high demand situation. And so you want to take care that you're taking the time to fill up your own well. So like my saying is, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? And so if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you're nervous, that's going to impact the people around you and certainly your children. Children are so energetically sensitive, and this is not to make people freak out. It's just to hopefully give people the gift of reprioritizing themselves as they go through what is a very high demand situation. And it's very easy to go into full-blown fight or flight all the time and to think that stress, that panic is actually helping, but it can actually hurt. And so by you taking the time to calm yourself down, to eradicate stress from your own nervous system, the ripple effect of that is great and also can be very healing.
Yeah, no, I work one-on-one with parents going through cancer for their children, and it usually most of my first call is, it takes them a minute to like, wait, what are we talking about here? But I'm talking about them, like how are you performing? Because I mean, if I go back and change anything about what I did and kind of D-Day of diagnosis through probably the first whole year, was just take better care of myself. Because I always joke that my wife and I looked more like the cancer patients than our son did, because he was getting all of the super supplements and everything, and just healing from every possible angle. And then we were just felt guilty doing anything for ourselves, which is just the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah. So now to answer your original question of like how I got into this. So the story that I usually tell is that, I was on Broadway for 10 years and I found meditation and it changed my whole life. It cured my insomnia. I stopped going gray. I didn't get sick for 8.5 years. I started enjoying my job again. And so I went from like having panic attacks and nervous breakdowns underneath my dressing room table to like loving my job and really performing at the top of my game. And so it transformed my performance so dramatically that I left Broadway, went to India, and started a 3-year training process to become a teacher. And then I started Ziva about 6 years ago. So that's usually like my performance angle that I tell. But I figured today it would be a little bit more relevant to tell the first story and perhaps the more private story, which is when I was 24, my father was diagnosed with liver cancer, and it was stage 4 sarcoma. Which is normally, actually, I think happens more regularly in children than it does in adults. But when it happens in adults, it's incredibly aggressive. And by the time they had diagnosed him, it was like, his tumor was 28 centimeters and there was nothing, there was nothing really to be done. But of course, when you get that diagnosis, that's not an acceptable reality. You know, you think we'll do anything. We'll do anything we can. And so I asked to speak to a nutritionist at a cancer center, and they basically laughed at me. And then they handed me a 6-pack of Ensure, which is, you know, sugar water. And
Yeah.
I was just starting my health journey, but I knew enough to know that that was poison, that, you know, pouring sugar on the flame that is cancer is like pouring gasoline on a flame. And so I was like, well, okay, so this is not a helpful route. And so I just spent like the next few days, I just like became a learning machine, and I learned everything I could about feeding his body versus feeding the cancer, and how they treat cancer in Japan. And we got him on these like crazy machines and supplements and all the things. And what was the biggest, like the most moving thing to me is by the time, so I was on tour at the time, I was on a Broadway tour of the producers, and I quit. I didn't quit, but I took a leave of absence. I came home. And by the time I came home, my dad was basically in a coma. He couldn't talk, he couldn't walk. He was just lying in bed. And in the next 48 hours, like after we started feeding him and not his cancer, we started juicing, we started doing fluorescence, we started doing apple pectin, we started on this machine that would move his feet to keep his body oxygenated. And 48 hours later, he was talking, walking up and down the stairs in the yard. And it was so, I mean, it felt like a miracle. It turns out it's not a miracle, it's science, but it felt miraculous. And I realized for the first time with my own eyes, the power of our diet, the power of our lifestyle, the power of what we're ingesting. And while he did pass away 4 weeks after his diagnosis, he still had a few weeks there where he could say his goodbyes, he could have conversations, he could be present with the people that he loved. And that is, I mean, it's invaluable to have that time. And that was really what started me on this journey to heal myself, and then also to share healing tools with other people.
Well, yeah, and that's you know, there's all sorts of different outcomes with cancer, obviously, but just having that time, that's a lot different than a coma. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot different than a coma. And yeah, and I feel like, you know, I ultimately, it taught me a level of surrender and trust, you know, to trust nature. And I feel like my father and I have been able to heal things in a way, even after he's left his body, that perhaps we wouldn't have been able to if he was still living. And it is really, I mean, as painful as it was, and as much as I would have loved a different outcome, I have to be grateful for it, right? Because it is the thing that has now allowed me to impact the lives of so many other people with meditation. And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of speaking of impacting the lives of others, I know we don't have a lot of time here, but I know you do have another pretty cool story about meditation relating to cancer that I haven't even heard the full story yet, but I'd be pretty interested to hear, because that's at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people want to know is, you know, how can this benefit me if I'm going through cancer in some way. So yeah, and it's, you know, we interview naturopathic oncologists and stuff like that on the show where it's kind of obvious, but our thing is bringing in every possible tool that you can. Yeah. And sometimes it's, you know, you have to explain why this is a tool, that sort of thing. So I'd love to hear another story on that regard.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful story. It's a woman named Kathy, and she came to me at my studio in New York. So I teach in person and I also teach online. And she came to me, she had just had a double mastectomy. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was about to start her treatment. She was about to start chemo. And she learned meditation like in the week that she had in between her surgery and starting treatment. And I want to start the story by saying that I'm not making any claims that meditation can cure cancer, but what meditation can do, and what it has been scientifically proven to do 6,000 times over by peer-reviewed studies, is dramatically reduce the level of stress in your body, which allows your immune system to function as it is meant. When we're stressed, our immune system is compromised, right? So I just want to preface this story by saying I'm not claiming that meditation cures cancer. I'm just sharing a story of how how this impacted this particular student. So anyway, she came to me, she just had a mastectomy, she was about to start treatments, and she learned to meditate. And what we teach is basically a twice a day practice. And I teach people to be self-sufficient so that they have tools that they can do on their own. So they can do it even in the hospital, on a train, on a bus, with your kids yelling in the next room, at work. So you don't need Wi-Fi and finger symbols and incense and gongs, and you don't have to chant. It just looks like this. Like you're just sitting in a chair with your eyes closed. You pop on some headphones, no one even knows you're meditating. So it's something you can easily do in a waiting room, in a lobby, next to someone who is in the hospital. I was actually, doesn't matter. Okay, so Kathy came to me and she started meditating, and I gave her permission because she was going through such an intense, high demand time. I said, you know what, if you want to meditate a little more, feel free, especially while you're getting treatments. So she would go in and she would get chemo, and it would be like a couple of hours. And then the doctors would come in and they would say, all right, look, it's probably going to take you a couple of hours for your vitals to recover. You have to be able to walk around and your vitals have to be at a certain degree before you can go home. And so she said that while she was getting the drip, she just meditated the whole time. And then they came in, they disconnected her. And like 10 minutes later, they checked her signs, and they were like, okay, you're ready to go. I've never seen anyone's vitals recover that quickly. And then about a month later, she came back with her partner, and her partner asked the doctor, she said, Kathy, I don't know if the chemo's working because she's not sick. Her energy's great. She's sleeping well. Like, she just seems like herself. I mean, are you sure the chemo's working? And the doctor looked at her and said, she's bald. The chemo's working. It's whatever Kathy's doing that is improving her quality of life while she's going through this treatment. And so I just thought that was such a beautiful example of how, she's still going through the treatment. It's still tough, but the meditation was helping her to move through it more elegantly. And what she said is, meditation allowed me to experience my cancer instead of fight my cancer. And she used it as a teaching tool and as not that you surrendered to it, it's not giving up, but it's experiencing with it, it's moving with it versus fighting against it, which can sometimes waste our energy. And now Kathy's been cancer-free for 2.5 years, and she's actually training with me to become a teacher of meditation because it changed her life that much.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. And it's, that's the kind of stuff we love to hear about around here is, Billy isn't supposed to be doing as well as he's doing right now. What's going on? What are you guys doing? Keep it up. Whatever you're doing. That's the stuff we love. And that's what I look for in all angles of how we approach cancer, or of course, just, like I was telling you, we have a lot of people that just want to lead healthier lives for their families. It's funny. I literally have the kids screaming and the dog barking in the background right now, and I don't know if you hear it.
That's like, the thing is that once you move through the Ziva training, that won't even be a thing. Kids yelling, dog barking, you'll understand that noise is no barrier to meditation, and you won't let perfect be the enemy of good, and you'll just fit it in when you can. And I know it seems like, well, there's no way, I don't have time in my day, but what happens is when you start meditating, your sleep becomes more efficient, your to-do list that used to take you 5 hours starts to take you 3, your cognition improves, your creativity improves. So you just find that life becomes a lot more elegant. And I think that that's relevant no matter if you're a caretaker or if you're going through treatment.
Well, that being said, I certainly want to learn more about how you go about it for myself, because I got some work to do, and that's why I wanted to share. I was excited to hear you had an actual event coming up, because we're all about letting everyone know what we're interested in, and so this is something I'm certainly going to be checking out for myself. But Emily, do you want to let everyone know what it is you have coming up?
Yeah, so we are in the middle of launching our brand new online training called Ziva Online, which I'm really proud of. My team and I have been working on it for the past year. And I've basically taken everything I've learned. I've taught over 7,000 people to meditate, Grammy winners, Oscar, Golden Globe, Emmy, Tony Award winners, NBA players, CEOs, moms, cancer survivors. And I've taken everything I've learned from teaching these folks and put it into this beautiful 15-day training. And it's about 15 minutes a day for 15 consecutive days. And like I said, by the time you graduate, you have the practice to take with you for life. You don't have to log in or have Wi-Fi or listen to me. You can do the practice anywhere, anytime. And so what we created to give people a little bit more education, to give people a taste of what we do, and to learn some some of the neuroscience behind how it works is that we created a 1-hour free masterclass, and that's called the stress solution. And I think you have a link to that if you want to post it in the notes. Or it's just zivameditation.com/stress solution. And that's a 1-hour free training. And it talks about really what the Ziva technique is, which is this beautiful trifecta of mindfulness, meditation, and manifesting. Right? So mindfulness is what most of the apps are that are out there. Most of the YouTube videos are mindfulness, where you're directing your focus, very good at dealing with your stress in the now. Now, meditation, as I would define it, and what we teach at Ziva, is different. It's actually giving the body deep healing rest that's about 5 times deeper than sleep. And when we give that body that rest, it gets rid of our old stresses from the past. That's the thing that up-levels the immune capabilities. And then the third M, the dessert portion, is manifesting. And that's really, and I'm sure people have heard of this when moving through alternative cancer treatments, that's taking the time to visualize, you're in perfect health, your child in perfect health, your white blood cells, efficiently attacking the cancer cells. So it's taking the time to not only visualize how you want to be externally, but visualize what you want to be happening internally. So I just teach people really powerful, simple tools on how to manifest, how to visualize. And what I found is that the combination of meditation and manifesting is infinitely more powerful than either one alone. Because you can meditate all day, but if you're not clear about what it is that you want, you're not taking the time to visualize it, it's hard for nature to deliver it to you. And conversely, you could make a million vision boards and you could pray all day, but if your body is riddled with stress and you don't believe that you deserve your desires, then again, it's very hard for nature to deliver that. So I really think that the combination of the two, it produces really amazing results.
Yeah. I mean, all those are certainly concepts that you come across in the alternative health world, just the general achieve your goals kind of places. So yeah, and I didn't know there was I didn't know you incorporated all of those into your program. And so on top of just wanting a more efficient, better way to actually incorporate this stuff into my life, now I'm really, really intrigued to check it out. So I will, if Teddy hasn't already, we got the kids invading here.
I see your kids, they sound really cute.
Teddy, get out of here. Probably time to wrap it up. If Teddy hasn't already, she'll certainly post a link in the comments, you guys, to check out the masterclass. We'll also be sending this out. If you haven't already signed up for our mailing list, mykidcurescancer.com, just go there, because we'll be sending this out there, and we sort of send all sorts of this type of helpful stuff out on a pretty regular basis. So do that. And Emily, I'm really looking forward to checking this out, because I certainly that's one area of my personal game, I guess you could say, that I still need to put some work on, and I'm really excited to. Is there any other closing parting thoughts you wanted to make sure to impart to everyone before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for sharing everything that you've learned and your expertise with people, because I know that when you first get that diagnosis, it's incredibly scary and overwhelming, and it's hard to know where to go to find resources to help. I'm dealing with some health issues with a family member right now, and even though I've been studying this stuff for 11 years, when it happens to you, it just feels so scary and overwhelming, and the emotions come up, and sometimes you don't have your full clarity of thought. And so I just really want to say thank you for the work that you're doing. It's really, really important. And I want to say to everyone that's listening, if you're even a little bit curious about meditation, or if you've ever tried meditation and felt like a failure, or if stress is holding you back from being the best parent you can be, please do yourself the favor of at least trying out this 1-hour masterclass, and then make an informed decision, because it really can. I know it sounds cheesy and it sounds like it's too big of a promise, but it really is like the foundational piece that can impact everything else in your life. Because this brain machine is responsible for every decision, every cell in our body, every thought that we think. And so if we don't take care of this, everything else can suffer. But when we give our brain what it needs, everything else can thrive.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Emily Fletcher, really looking forward to it, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on and tell everyone about it, and do a much better job than I could have possibly tried to myself. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Cool. That was awesome. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I said, it's, you know, we definitely try to, well, like you said, it's hard to, you know, well, once you're in the throes of it, it's, you know, where do you start? And that's what we, you know, what I've been trying to do is just kind of put the big picture together for people. Yeah, and this is a big part of it. So yeah,
Okay.
cool. I'm looking forward to yeah, I was serious. I'm definitely looking forward to
So I'll make sure that Sherry, I think you and Sherry have been in touch. I'll make sure that she sends you either a link to sign up or access. And the cool thing is, I mean, we have a group of people that are all starting together on February 24th. And so it'll be like thousands of people like doing day 1 through 15 on the same days, but you also can do it in your own time. Like it's, you get to control when you do it. So I'd say, you know, I'm sure your life is very full, but I'm happy to gift that to you. But I do think it would make a big difference because, you know, it's a high demand time you're in. Just being a parent in general is very high demand time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, so kind of what our thing for this year is. I didn't really know it was going to be our thing until we started doing it, but was like going through different, processes or, you know, programs or whatever ourselves, and then kind of documenting it. We just did Robin Openshaw's 26-day detox deal, and we kind of like, you know,
I know Robin. She was my Burning Man campmate. We were in the same RV at Burning Man.
Oh, really? Yeah. I'm trying to remember if I was out with her a while back, and she was telling us some pretty funny Burning Man stories. But
yeah, I don't think she really liked it so much.
Well, I mean, she, you know, Robin in particular is, you know, still coming out of the LDS faith, and you know, so I think she grew up a little more square than some of the rest of us.
Yeah, and she's also, to go to your first burn with like 20-year-old kids, you know, she's just like, they're like dirty hippie millennials, and I'm like, Robin, you're a Burning Man. Like, what did you expect? Oh, I had a great time though.
Yeah, that's good. But no, anyway, so yeah, we kind of documented the whole like going through her process or whatever, and it turned out really well, and a lot of people went up for it and that sort of thing. So I don't know, that might be interesting to see if we could create some interesting content out of, you know, going through your thing or something.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think it'd be great. And then what might be even cooler, which I have not done yet, but I get a million requests all the time, is like meditation for kids. And it's not something that I do it. Like I give a scholarship to kids. Like we do 2 kids trainings a year at our studio, but I haven't done an online kids training.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see like if you go through it, and then to see like how you incorporate it into your kids. And I could give you some tips on that and some tricks, but it's just not really like my area of expertise. And we're really focusing on high performers right now. So that could be an interesting spin as well. Like
that'd be really cool, because that's our whole thing is like, you know, you're hearing about this health stuff over here and it's all in terms of adults, but like, how do you apply it to your kids?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, Ryder gets up and he does this little, you know, his little gratitude sayings and his deep breaths, and we say yes a bunch of times, and, you know, it's like all that stuff. But yeah, no, I would love to maybe, you know, kind of go through it for ourselves, and then maybe work in a call or something with you on tips and tricks on applying it to a kid, or it could be really neat.
Okay, cool. So I'll make sure Sarah gives you access to it. And then once you go through it, it's 15 days. Once you go through it, or if you want to document it, or, you know, just let me know. And then if we want to do a follow-up with the kids, that'd be great. But I would love for you guys to share your experience of moving through the training.
Cool. Yeah, we'll have to see when that would make sense to do, but it's on the mental calendar at some point sooner than later. So yeah.
Okay, cool. And then also just know that, you know, we have this interactive training starting on the 24th, but immediately after that, it's going evergreen. So like it could be relevant whenever.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. Awesome.
Cool. All right, well, have a beautiful nice to meet you.
Great. Before I forget, incredible. What was it? Thriller? Was it Thriller of Mind Show?
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm big
Thank you. Everyone, it was so funny that like, cause people, you know, you hear Broadway, but I think people forget that like I was a professional dancer since I was 8 years old. You know, it's like, that's really what I do. And then people were like, whoa. Yeah, it was fun.
That was like the highlight of the whole thing for me. My comm, I think I had a comm minor, and my final speech was called "Michael Jackson was a cuddler, not a toucher."
Was it Letter?
He was a cuddler, not a toucher.
Wow. All right. That's awesome.
Anyway, all right, I got.
All right. Well, have a good day. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, we'll see you, Emily.
Bye.